To answer the question, what attracts people to art is, I think, what I've gathered through my years of being an artist and experiencing art is how we appeal to the senses. It reminds us of, that's a color I really like. Ooh, I like how they put that color next to something, or it gives us a memory of something. It appeals to a feeling or an emotion or a taste. So when I think of what attracts people to art, it's very personal a lot of times, because there's people like, oh my God, I absolutely love it. And somebody else will see it like, yeah, right. And then they'll walk over to another piece and it reminds them of their grandmother who passed away, and then it's just, they just start crying, and you're, as an artist, you're like, okay, all right. Okay. Or they might even see something that you didn't even see in the piece, and they're giving you oohs and ahs. And so for me, it's how you tap into those senses, taste, touch, feel, so on and so forth, that attracts people to art, be it visual, theater, dance, music, and so forth.
For many years, as I painted, I think I've been painting for about 15, 20 years, and I think for about 3/4 of my career, it has been what satisfies the public, what will the people buy, and what can I do? And I mean, I would go and study color theory and what's designers and what were they doing and so on and so forth, and go shopping. And I think that about the beginning of this year, I had a revelation about what art meant to me, and not necessarily being as concerned about the public, although with that said, I want to sell art, you know, I think that's what I'm saying. But I think for me, beginning, I guess in February, art became more of a spiritual expression of myself and who I was trying to, what I was going through at that moment. I know that most of the paintings that are here are my new series, and it was a thought, an emotion, or something that I was experiencing at that moment. And I did not necessarily paint it for the public, but I painted it for myself. Not really care. I mean, at the risk of sounding arrogant, I really didn't care whether you liked it or not, because it was for me. And I began to enjoy art again. I began to love getting into my studio and getting my hands dirty and doing things. And I think that when we, as an artist, when we consider our public or the people that are viewing, we lose ourselves and we can lose our integrity and who we are as artists. So I think that for me, art is who am I at that moment and what am I thinking. And if you give me an opportunity, I can explain it, but hopefully by viewing it, you will get the idea of what I was thinking.
We're all collectors, but first of the we're artists. You know, I think I probably own something by most people in this room, and if I don't yet, stick around. But as collectors, what do you look for? Dr. Lowe, I'm going to start with you, because you are the ultimate collector of art in Palm Beach County, of Black art.
A while ago. It was done by an artist out of Howard, Lowe Jones. And at the bottom of it, it said, free within ourselves. And I believe that's Langston Hughes, and I could be wrong, but it was all that whole way with the WPA is the work progress artist back during in the 40s, right after the war. Roosevelt put a lot of artists back to work, because there were so many people, and I'll even go to Augusta Savage, who Norton has one of her pieces, and she's from this area, Augusta Savage. She was a great sculptor, and she destroyed so much of her artwork in her studio up in New York because of the frustration is, I want to create what Lupe just said as an artist. It's a spiritual thing, and I want to create my artwork whether somebody likes it or not. But as an artist, if you're going to be the professional artist, and you can't just do it on the side, which a lot of artists do in their careers, before they can become a professional, because they can't make enough money to survive. So they look to, do I have to create the artwork for the buyer, or is it spiritual enough? Am I free within myself to create and express and say to the world what I want to say to the world? So there were a lot of artists early on, a lot of our great master, and I asked the school board that one time, when you name master artist, if you just had a high school degree, who would you name? It's usually Picasso, Rembrandt, you know, things like that. And I asked the school board here in this county, probably 20, 25 years ago, if our kids are going to get a good education, they should be able to name one or two African American or black artists as well. You know, Henry Ossawa-Tanner, Romar Bearden, someone they should be able to say. And they,
Gordon Parks.
And Gordon Parks, of course, is
he's been through here. Gordon's visited, he's been through
so
here.
many. I mean, it's just so many. So why can't our children just name one? So it's how you market, it's all of those kinds of things. But usually, it's really that connection what everybody is talking about. If you connect to the piece, whatever it is, like you say, if it's the performing arts, music, or whatever, but if you're going to put something in your home, and that's another story too, because I used to have art shows in my home, and people would come, and these were, and I'd have whites and people from all the whole diaspora. And somebody said to me much later, Dr. Lowe, don't you think you're offending people by having all these black folks on your wall? And I turned that around and I said, you know what, when I go into whites or Hispanics or anyone else's home, am I offended by what they have on their walls? Am I? So why, in the reverse, why would they be offended when they came into my house and saw what was there? And then it was the most interesting thing. Some of the most wealthy people in Palm Beach County, when I had gone to their homes, they had most of their genre, believe it or not, was African art. And I said, you know, it's interesting when we start talking about culture, what happens and all of the perceptions that we have. So it really is, I think it's the connection. If you're connected to a piece, you're going to want it. And if you can put the categories, is this for an investment? Is it simply decorative? Is it just evoking an emotion? So it's all of the different levels of why you want to actually collect and acquire a piece, or do you just want to go to the museum and see it, or do you just want to look at it in a book?
The question we have all the time. Talk to me about art as investment. How many of you can answer this from any level, from buying art as investment or to hoping to sell your. What have we ever heard from you? Jason.
I think in terms of like, I want to say buying art as an investment, I want to look at it from an artist aspect. Like if somebody is purchasing your artwork, you're investing in that artist and their dreams, and you're giving them a reason to continue doing it, because we live in a world where everyone looks at artists kind of like they look at them down in the down form, because they're like, okay, you paying and whatnot, but you can't make money off of that, or at least that's the impression that people have. So being an artist, you're looking at it like, is it really worth me struggling to do these things? And when you have somebody who's willing to invest in your dreams, they're literally put money down and say, I love what you do, and I think it's that great that I need you to keep doing it so I can collect more. That gives that person the passion to keep going. It gives other kids who like are just watching you, it gives them the passion to want to create and chase their dreams, because they realize people do care about you, because you're just being yourself, and you're building up a character and building up a community. So that's the one way I look at it.
It gets interesting because we now have attorneys who specialize in intellectual property. And it's very interesting because when young artists are just getting started, a lot of times they're not thinking about, I'm going to create something that's going to last in perpetuity, forever. And then we can also talk about, let's talk about one of the artists, Jackson Pollock. Now, he just used latex paint, I guess it was. He didn't think about that this was going to be preserved. But then the promoters and everyone else got involved and started pushing that he's the artist that wealthy people should have. But now the artwork is peeling off the wall because it wasn't really preserved well. So what do you do in that scenario with all of that? How do you make things, and when I talk to artists a lot of times, I really say, you know, you're going to have a clientele of folks who just want to buy this for now. They love it, but what are they going to do to preserve it, or how are they going to get it back to you if it needs to be touched up, worked on again, all of those kinds of things. So all of this stuff is evolving. It really is very much evolving. And when the lawyers are out there with the intellectual property now, what's a true authentic? Is it really real? Can you x-ray it and know that this is truly a piece that was created 500 years ago? So it's all of those issues that are there. But I think, and then just trying to tell your children, this is an important piece. It needs to be passed on when it comes to whatever it is, furniture, those kind of things. So often young people say, well, I want something new. I don't want any of that old stuff. So how do you keep it and make it preserved, that that's grandma's china that should be passed on forever?
Well, and I think a lot of that has to do with the story. Whenever you buy a piece of art from Anthony Burks will give you a story about that art. And that is one of the things that, you know, is inherent in our community. Our grandparents have given us stories. They've told us about certain things in our lives, and these are the things that are important to us. You know, oftentimes, like Trina, I had an art gallery in my home as well. In 1994, I went to Africa, and I got really involved in African art masking. And African art masking tells the story of the community. They have masks for everything you can possibly imagine. A mask for harvest, a mask for war, a mask for love, a mask for peace, you know, a mask for rain. And these stories need to be passed down. So as we can create art, I'm sure that each art piece here has a story behind it. And so as we talk about that, you know, as we talk about what makes this valuable, it's what you put behind it.
That's what real artists work at, is the story. It's always the narrative. It's always the narrative at work. If you don't know that, you should know that. And that's where the education and the medium comes. That's what I was talking about earlier, those 6 points that I was trying to make earlier. I don't know how that came across, and I want to pick that up, but meditate on that, marinate that, and I'm sure you're going to get it after this. Because really, that's the point right there, man. How authentic is that work? Not only the physical work, but the intent of the artist. And will he keep going and going and going and going? He's gone. He's hooked. He's addicted. I'm addicted to photography. I've been doing it since I was 6 years old. I had the key to the lab at my college. I was the peer teacher, you know, and I spent all the fix and all the stop bath. I did the whole trip. And I had the key to the thing, and I lived right down the street, so I was back and forth, you know. And I was totally addicted, okay? And my mom was a photographer, so I know what's happening here. This is a great question, because this is real. This is where the rubber hits the road, where you have to make your work authentic, and that is just not only the physical, but the spiritual intent of the work, which has been talked about earlier here. So when you do collect someone, make sure they're real. I mean, for real, before you start collecting, because you do want that to last. You do want to tell that story. I have those 2 pieces on the wall back there. I got a story too. Okay, I wrote it down. I told Anthony and Trina that everything I do now, I'm gonna put Ian James over here. We had a short discussion. I would write everything about it. Now I could kill it that way too, because I'm sure, you know, there was a thing where less is better. You know, so you can use your imagination and fill in the blanks. But I got misrepresented for the trees over there. When you see them, you probably might go there because it's a black show. Our perception, or where we go, we're always angry, always militant. You know, white and black can't do it. You know, we can't live together without harmony and strength, and without confusion and mayhem and all that other stuff. But the point is that the trees is about diversity, harmony, and strength. I got it right here. You want to know about it? You can find out. But I think that's our obligation as artists. I think that's our obligation as buyers, to know the truth, but control is better.